I know about all sorts of things. As it happened, he actually was an expert when it came to this bar. After attending every karaoke Friday for the last 3 years, Nick knew that the owner's dog was named Scotty, and their server's stylishly spiked hair was cut by her sister, and the bar food was better earlier in the evening because the kitchen cared less the later it got. He doubted Casey would find any of this impressive. She was keeping his gaze, which was good, and she was letting him keep his hand on her arm, which was better. If he had a shot with her tonight, their words and glances and pauses would have to build on each other until leaving the bar together felt natural. He'd rely on his smile until he thought of the next subtle indication to Casey with a K that going to bed with a cripple with a C would be worth her while. "Kev, we gotta dance." A woman's voice shattered the moment, startling him. At the sudden interruption, Nick's hand involuntarily left Casey's arm and swept the table, knocking over his beer. The bottle was empty, but he still felt broken every time he reacted to an unexpected noise as if he'd been jolted with a cattle prod. "Come on, Kevin," the woman pleaded playfully. "Please." Nick tried to smile in apology to Casey as he righted his bottle, but Casey wasn't looking at him anymore. Nick followed her gaze, and then he couldn't look away. A guy and a woman in their 20s were dancing together a few feet in front of him. It was a swing dance, and these two had to be professionals. They were moving with the sort of control Nick could only dream of, navigating the space around each other so well that each leap, each spin, each step to the right or the left became another word in the story they were telling. The guy was into it, acting and reacting, advancing and responding, but the woman... Nick kept glancing at her feet to make sure she hadn't left the ground. Her olive skin was glowing, her mouth was open in a delighted laugh, and her eyes were shining as she watched her partner. Nick wasn't sure he'd ever felt the kind of joy that was radiating from her as she danced. A few onlookers were impressed enough to applaud when the song ended, and Nick found himself clapping too, wishing he had a better response to give. The woman's eyes caught Nick's as she brushed back the dark hair that had fallen in her face, and she grinned. Nick felt as if the sun had come out. "Wow," Casey said. Nick remained frozen in place, watching the dancers get in line at the bar. He vaguely realized Casey was speaking to him, but couldn't bring himself to care about what she was saying. "Does that happen a lot?" she asked him. "I mean, I know this isn't one of those dancing restaurants, but do they get a lot of dancers in here?" Nick looked at her distractedly. "Dancing restaurants?" "Yeah, you know, like those diners where the servers have dance breaks." "Oh." He glanced back at the dancers. "No, I've never seen her before." "But other dancers, though." Nick almost started laughing. No, people didn't usually dance in the middle of the Squeaky Lion, and certainly never like that. And what the hell did it matter? He was sitting amid a noisy, sweaty swamp of people trying to seduce someone a decade younger than he was so he could forget he was defective. Even if Casey went home with him, he knew he'd be lucky to feel even a twinge of what had been shining in that dancing woman's eyes. "Do you want to get out of here?" he asked. Casey paused with her glass in hand and swallowed. "What?" "We could get in my car and leave right now." Casey's eyes were scanning the tabletop like he had switched scripts on her and she was searching for the new one. "Can you drive a car?" Nick sighed. "We could talk about the napkins, and we could talk about dancing restaurants, and you could spend the next hour figuring out if I'm worth it. Or you can leave with me right now, and we can go back to my place." He saw the answer in her eyes as clearly as if a switch had been flipped. She couldn't figure out how to run away and be nice to him at the same time. She reached for her purse. "I've got to use the bathroom?" He laughed. "Should I pretend you're coming back?" "No."